Alright, so hello tennis guys and welcome to my channel. So huge congratulations to Carlos Alcaraz for winning this year's US Open, the US Open 2025, against his biggest rival that we see now and we will see in the upcoming years if everything goes the right direction. I was watching this year's US Open closely, quite closely, lots of matches. And it was clear to me that they will meet in the final. There was no one who was challenging them properly, let's say. The Felix Auger-Aliassime was the kind of biggest surprising threat to the possible Sinner Alcaraz final, or to the eventual Sinner Alcaraz final. But what I want to talk about is how Carlos Alcaraz will, in my opinion, dominate Jannik Sinner in the future months and years, and why this will happen, and why I also was thinking before this final that Carlos Alcaraz is the favorite. And believe it or not, my prediction for the final was Alcaraz winning against Jannik 3-1. And it happened exactly like that. And also, not only that it happened like that, but also it happened in a way I was expecting to happen. So let's start right from the start. What a nice phrase. So on the moment Jannik Sinner entered the court with Carlos Alcaraz, I saw Jannik being nervous. You don't see Jannik being nervous. When he is nervous, there is something, and that's Carlos Alcaraz. He is in Jannik's head, and he will be there for the future years. And the reason for that is that only Carlos Alcaraz can play back the balls that other players don't achieve. They can't. They don't have not only the skill, but mostly the physicality, the physical attributes of Carlos Alcaraz. So the first thing you notice is that Jannik Sinner is intimidated by Carlos Alcaraz already before the match even begins. You can see that during the photo shoot on the court, like he's like nervous. He just wants to start the match. He's kind of rushing everything. He has this weird face that he doesn't usually have. And I was thinking, oh man, it is here, it is there. And the odds for the betting companies were the opposite. And I don't understand. Because if you know tennis, if you know the past of these players, and if you also know their style, the development, and so on, you in my opinion, that's just my opinion, you would just say that actually Carlos is the slight favorite, also thanks to his more kind of developed, more interesting type of game. And it was clearly the case. So right from the start, Jannik was nervous, hitting lots of weird shots, unforced errors, double faults. His serve was really horrendous for him. And the execution of some points, like he didn't know what to do. It was quite painful in some situations to watch him. For most of the players, it would be like still a very good performance. But from the point of view of Jannik Sinner, this performance was really like 70% of his, maybe even less, like 60% of his real game, real capabilities. But then you have Carlos, and when you switch to Carlos, he's the reason why the game of Jannik was so, let's say, bad for him, because Carlos can play the 2, 3, 4 extra shots back, and now not only that, he can re-attack. He can attack from Jannik's attack back. That's something very rare. You don't see that with other players. And because Carlos is moving so well, he can do that. And if you watch the interview after the match, both were talking very similarly in the way how it all evolved. But what I have noticed throughout the tournament is that's I would say is like one of the biggest key things for the outcome of this match and of the maybe future matches, is that Carlos Alcaraz is still playing tennis for fun. That's his main focus. Jannik Sinner, on the other hand, he's taking it as a job. He's too professional, in my opinion. Carlos is just like a small kid, and the court is his playground, and he's doing what he wants to do when he wants to do it, and he doesn't have a clear path or clear game plan, because the game plan, from the point of view of Carlos, is evolving according to what's happening on the court. On the other hand, Jannik is playing his kind of dominant style of tennis all over again. He doesn't have the creativity. He lacks the surprise in his game. He also can play nice drop shots and so on. Sometimes he can go to the net and clear the ball there quite easily. But it is not as natural. It doesn't evolve. It's like planned, or it is like scheduled. And if it doesn't work, then he is not in the position to be dominant. So his game also, Jannik's game, is, in my opinion, from what I'm seeing and from what I'm watching, and very, very few people actually observe this and talk about it, is that his game, in my opinion, is more physically demanding. Because when you are someone who is constantly attacking the ball, you are depleting more and more energy, and you are not getting back anything from your opponent, right? If you are the one who is always pushing and hitting the ball very hard. And you can see that. So the style of the game of both players is very different. And although Carlos is moving extreme way on the court, his game is more lightweight, because he can also use the pace of his opponent's shots to kind of take it and put it back into the shot. And it doesn't look that heavy and that demanding, because he also has the style, he has the technical or the style of his shots is determining the overall approach to the game. So he's like more airy, let's say, more flying on the court, but Jannik is more like controlled. He's also he looks also more stiff kind of on the court. He wants to be that like robot style of player, but in my opinion that costs him even more energy than the shots that Carlos is producing. And we also need to take into account the rackets they're using. The equipment is part of the job, and in my opinion, Carlos' racket, as we know, is meant for more free, easy power, delivering the shots in a more easier way compared to the head speed racket that Jannik is using, that just needs constant energy putting into the shot. And last thing it's really huge and major is the mental approach to the game as overall, I would say. So that Carlitos found it's not new, but it's in recent weeks and months, but especially during this US Open, they were talking about his love for golf. So I believe he mentioned that in 2020 he started playing golf, so that's now like 4 or 5 years, and he loves the sport, and he has something to focus after the tennis. So even during US Open, when he had a free day, he didn't practice like crazy. He went and he went on a golf pitch and he played some golf. Very easy, very relaxed. On the other hand, Jannik is kind of, focused on tennis like most of the time, and he's practicing a lot. He's putting a lot of energy and effort and mental energy into tennis, and I think that also costs him this free spirit. It's kind of missing on the court. So he's too much, in my opinion, focused on tennis. And on the other hand, Carlos is like, oh, I do whatever I want, when I want. And, you know, he's like a big child living his dream, and he knows that. He knows that he is so good that he doesn't need to train like every day like a lunatic, and he can enjoy the life fully with friends and with family, and he can go and play some golf. And he felt so relaxed during this US Open. It was inevitable that he is going to win this tournament, in my opinion. And also the previous matches kind of showed that he was flawless. And as his coach pointed out, this was a perfect tournament, perfect final. Everything clicked. And in my opinion, Carlos is now really fully integrated in Jannik's head as the biggest nemesis. It is his nemesis, and I can see that Carlitos can confidentially be beating Jannik in the future months and future years, because his game is much more complete and complex. And also the other factors I mentioned are there. So Jannik mentioned in the interview after the match that he will now focus on creating a different type of serve, or creating different type of game, but not only from the point of view that Alcaraz is the reason. Of course, he's the biggest reason for the changes, but also he said he will be doing that just to improve overall and to be more and an even bigger threat to the other players. Now, the thing with this change is that the more variables and the more type of shots you add to your game, the more you will be also, in my opinion, prone to the errors, because it is not in your DNA, let's say, or it has never been in your DNA. So if Jannik doesn't implement these changes really slowly and really thoroughly and really wisely and in a very small amount, it can totally mess up his game. And what will happen is that also the other players, the weaker ones, let's say, will be exploiting that, and they will look at Jannik now maybe in a way like, okay, he is not anymore as dominant from the baseline, because he is also focusing on different style where he can be, you know, vulnerable. So this is very delicate. So I would suggest that Jannik takes the time to really thoroughly implement those small tweaks and small changes, and he doesn't really change too much, otherwise it could possibly destroy his kind of the mentality, the personality, the style of game. So maybe he can tweak his racket to make it maybe lighter, or to tweak the string setup, the tension, to tweak certain things also around, not only from his point of view, to make the game more complex and more unpredictable. So huge congrats once again to Alcaraz. I was really thinking that he will win. I also bet it on him, like 5 Czech crowns, which is nothing, but I'm doing it with my family just to make it a little bit interesting. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. Leave me a comment. What do you think about this rivalry, which is great in my opinion, and I hope there will be like a third, fourth player that will eventually come into this duo, and they will like create the new big 3 or big 4 in the future. So guys, thank you so much for watching. That's all for now. As always, enjoy tennis, play tennis, watch tennis every time, every day, and don't forget to enjoy the manooovrlbity. Bye guys.
You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious! That ball was on the line!